So imagine Saturday morning you eating breakfast with your older brother. And you're like, dang man, I wish we had our own characters. And your older brother start drawing his own characters and make his own world. And that's exactly what Tarik Holmes did. Our new guest on Chilling the Green Box today. He made his own universe with several different characters, several different books. And today we're talking about his newest book, Waffle Boy, what he made with his brother, because his brother loves waffles, and so much as a child he was like, I am Waffle Boy, so he decided to make a show about it. Well, not a show yet, but a book about it called Waffle Boy. And today we will talk about that and how he grew up. Our guest today is Tarik Holmes, TDJ Comics, and DJ Specks. Go ahead, start the show off.
Welcome back to the hood. This is Chill on the Green Box with Specks, Thompson interview. And I thank my co-host of you for the intro, man. He done a great job this season, as it being on the show. So, I appreciate it. And we got a great guest today. We got a comic book creator named Tarik Holmes, man. Appreciate you being on here.
What's up? What's up? Hey, how y'all doing?
Yeah, man. For people who don't know who you are, give a little brief introduction of who you are and what you do.
Yes. So I go by my tagline, Art of TJ. My real name is Tarik Holmes. I am an artist, an animator. I've been an animator for at least 3 years, and then I've been a comic book artist for like 4 to 6 years. So been working around with independent publishers and other contractors. So I've been around the places. So, but yeah.
Okay. All right, that's cool, man. I actually thought you've been doing stuff longer, but by 6 years, 6 years in comic books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being an artist,
Yep.
and 4 animation, right?
That's correct.
All right, yeah, I thought you were doing a little bit longer, but that's dope, man. Mm-hmm. That's fast process, I say.
Yeah.
But I don't know where you from, but or do you get the idea of the show? But growing up, do y'all have the green electrical boxes in front of your neighborhoods?
Say again.
The green electrical boxes. Did y'all have those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is just like that, man. I know when I was a kid, we hung out around them, chill around them, Mm-hmm. So this show just like that, we just hanging out and chill, talk, because I've been on live podcasts and whatnot, and people get on there and talk 2 hours about their project or whatever they got going on, and people never know about them. So I made my show so people know more about the creator and find a reason why to support them and follow them along with the other projects and other endeavors they have later on.
That's dope.
All right, so this show is based all around that concept of the Children Green Box, and it has 4 different segments. My first segment is called Breaking It Down, because when you chill on that green box, you wrote ideas, concepts down, thoughts, plans down your friends on that green box. Mm-hmm. So I can break down your brain with some icebreaker questions so people know more about you.
Okay. All right.
All right. So, what is your ideal breakfast?
Ideal breakfast: waffles and eggs.
Waffles and eggs.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of like Belgian waffles, Eggo waffles? Like what kind of waffles?
Belgian waffles. Eggo waffles.
Okay.
There, but I prefer kind of like the homemade type of waffles, the Belgian waffles for sure.
Cool. All right. Would you choose Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse?
Bugs Bunny.
Why Bugs Bunny?
That's the character I grew up on before Disney, so like he's hilarious. So I always choose him because I always get a kick out of him seeing his episodes.
No, did you watch any of the newer stuff on I guess HBO Max?
Yeah. Recently been watching I'm trying to get my family to watch any of the DC movies that are coming out, but they always never have a good schedule.
No, the new stuff, new Looney Tunes stuff.
Oh, Looney Tunes. I've seen, I don't know any new stuff lately, but I know there was a show with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck that I've been binge watching. I don't know anything new after that, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think I watched it. I think I've seen clips. It's definitely a lot zanier than how it was when we was kids.
Yeah,
Especially with Lola Bunny. Like, definitely not the same character from Space Jam.
it's the cartoons are a lot more different than it is today, unfortunately, because I feel
Mm.
like it had that pizzazz, you know what I mean, it was a different time. So I feel like today is not really the same as it is beforehand.
Okay, okay. Um, if you could plan a road trip, straight road trip, uh, even though you got to cross some water and whatnot to get there, what country would you go to?
Um, any country in the world, I would always want to go to Switzerland. My aunt is well known to go to like different places. So every year, she used to work at the FDA, and they always had business trips around the world. And she would always go to Switzerland. So I'm like, what is over there in Switzerland? That's so fun. So um, if I ever had the opportunity, I would love to go to Switzerland. Probably Paris one day. And then she also went to, I think she went to Australia. Like there's like a couple of places, but Switzerland would be the number one my pick.
I mean, she got a pretty good passport book, huh?
Yeah.
Did she ever tell you what's so good about Switzerland?
She would say that like the people are a lot more friendly over there. The food is good for sure. And there's some good scenery over there too. So I guess that's why I should go there like a couple times.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the end of that segment. Hope people got a good feel who you is. Next we go to my next segment. It's called the back issues. Being in comics, you should know about back issues, but people who don't know, if you want to know about a character origin story, you'll read their back issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you want to know about Deadpool, you go back to his back issues to find out about his origin story. So, in this segment, we can go to your back issues to find out more about your origin story.
All right.
All right. So, where are you from, and what do you call your hood?
All right. So I am from Manassas, Virginia. I live in the DMV area. My family used to be they were born in Jersey and they moved down south in the 90s. So I was born as a product after that. And I grew up with a big family, and half my family was into comic books, and the other family was into like other stuff like soap opera movies and so forth. So I grew up with that side of the family with the comic books, and that's when I got introduced to back in that time there was the 90s show, so X-Men, Spider-Man. They even got me watch the Spider-Man His Amazing Friends. There was Batman Beyond. So a lot of the cartoons, the really good cartoons back then, that's where I grew up around. And yeah, and I think from there, that's when my uncles introduced me. So I started with cartoons, and they introduced me to the comic books because I was like, where are these characters coming from? And then they had a whole stash of comic books in their all in their office, and I would see like this. I think one of my uncles was well into X-Men, so he had a bunch of 90s X-Men. And then another uncle was into Spider-Man. Then another uncle was into the Captain America Avengers. So it was like a whole spectrum of just characters in comic books. So I was like, oh my god, it's a lot. but uh but yeah.
So, what comic book? Well, first you said TV shows first.
Mhm.
So, what TV show like triggered your interest into comics?
Team show, I would say probably Teen Titans. um
Teen Titans did it.
Teen Titans, yeah, because around that era, because back then, it was all adults, with the superheroes, with Superman and Batman, and then so with Teen Titans at that time, I was like around in my probably like around elementary school or middle school, and that was my first introduction when they had kids as superheroes. I'm like, oh snap, there's Robin. I remember Robin from Batman, and then they had Starfire, Cyborg, and Beast Boy. I was like, that's dope. That's really cool. So that kind of piqued my interest. Like, oh, I wonder how many other characters are there besides the usual Batman, Superman, and Spider Man. So that's what piqued my interest into looking more into the whole universe and other generations of heroes from there.
I'm not sure when it came out, but what about Legion of Superheroes? Did that trigger you too?
Legion of Superheroes. Oh yeah, yeah. I think that was later. Because I was more into the Marvel stuff. Like I had hints of DC books, but Marvel was more my fandom at the time. But that was like later down the line, probably middle school when I learned Legion of Superheroes. But that was also a good show too as well.
Yeah, just basing off the things that triggered you. So that means around that time, X Men Evolution would have been there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was something else that went as well. I think it was it Earth's Mightiest Heroes or was that later? Can't remember.
See, that had to. See, I don't know how old you are to me, but Earth Mightiest Heroes I never watched, but I watched. It was Avengers. What super confused me
Mhm.
when Avengers came out was so when I grew up, the Avengers had their own TV show,
Mhm.
but Ant Man. Uh, yeah, so like I was saying, but Ant Man ran the show, and I think the Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, they was like supporting character. Captain America. I think Captain America went away or something. I think that was like a plot line or something like that. But they was like
Yeah.
support characters. So you had like the Wasp, Ant Man, Hawkeye, Vision, and
Mhm.
all them part of Avengers.
Yep.
So when the movie came out, I was like, we missing where's the Hat Man? Like we missing like some Avengers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, that's a whole lot. That's actually why the Avengers movie blew up because they used the original cast and not the people who was actually part of Avengers, just like the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
Yeah.
I was mad about that too because I'm a Nova fan. So I was like, man, when's Nova gonna come? When's Nova gonna come?
Yeah.
He leads the Guardians of the Galaxy, and four movies in, we still don't have no Nova.
No Nova, no Nova Core or anything like that. Like they try to implement the Xandar, but I was like, that's not the same. You need like
Yeah.
either Richard Nova or the Alexander Nova. Any of the two, I would take.
I like Richard. I like Richard Ryder, but I'm pretty sure they're about to use Sam. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're gonna throw Sam in there. But oh man, or they might throw that because how Disney is. They might throw that one black one where her mama was a part of Nova Corps and she found the helmet.
Oh yeah. Oh Lord, I forgot that.
Yeah, so yeah, no telling it do with Disney.
Who knows?
But so you got into the shows, then they brought you some comic books.
Mm-hmm.
So what comic book caught your eye? And you start reading it or follow along with that.
So at that time, when I was a kid, that was when Marvel started doing the Ultimate Universe. So of course, the first project they did was Spider-Man. So that's when I think Bendis was writing the first 100 issues of Spider-Man, and that's what caught my eye because I was already a Spider-Man fan from the '90s cartoons, and then from there I heard Marvel was doing kind of like a not really a retcon, but building this ultimate universe. And I was like, ooh, Spider-Man. And then what I liked about with that series is that what caught me is that it was a continuous story. And it's just him as a kid, and then all these different he got to deal with all these different problems, these different villains. He got a girlfriend that he can't keep can't keep at a certain time because he got to deal his life with as being the superhero, being the student. So and it was from there I was so immersed by that that storyline. I was like, I really love, this character. And then, of course, when it got to the near end, when I think it was Ultimatum, is when they kind of like that was I believe that was when Magneto destroyed the world, sort of, where he tried to bring the world because of what's going on with the X-Men team. And then that's when they supposedly killed off Spider-Man. And then I was like, shoot, he was only Spider-Man for like a couple months. Like, what the heck? And then, of course, later down the line, that's when they introduced they brought him back again, and then they brought in Miles Morales. But again, at that time when I was a kid, it was Ultimate Universe. So that's when I got introduced to the Ultimates, Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and then I think at the same time they brought the animated movies as well because they did the Ultimate Avengers 1 and 2, which they also introduced Black Panther in the second one. And when I saw Black Panther, and I said, "Oh my god, how come we haven't seen more of him lately in the comic books?" Like I've seen him appeared a couple times in the Avengers crossovers, but not as a standalone book or anything. Um, so from there, ever since then, that's when I started learning more into the characters and the universe that they were building up. So that's when I saw Ant-Man. That's when I saw the Wasp, the Hulk, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and just so many other characters. But that's where I started from, the Ultimate Universe, and then of course leading right into the main timeline that they're implementing now, which is 616.
That's dope, man. Out of all the people, out of interview, you're the only person that brought up Ultimate Comics and really enjoying it.
Yeah,
And that's funny though, because I guess you was a target market for that. I tell a story, of collecting comic books. I remember getting a toy for Christmas. I got two of them actually. It was Spider-Man, and it came out with issue one of Ultimate Spider-Man. But being that I read Spider-Man previously, reading that book I didn't like because it wasn't the same Peter Parker. And I was like, ugh.
yeah,
I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. So, but I was like, if I did care for it and kept the comic around, I had me a good car payment, for that issue, because that book is worth a lot of money now. Issue one.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, shoot, the way you talk about Ultimate Universe, and you make me want to go read the books because I really never cared about it. It was just different to me. It was just different. I probably while it got merged, but now it's back again.
Mm-hmm.
It being back again, I might read it because it got some crazy storylines. So
Yeah.
well, how you said before Black Panther wasn't introduced, but now he's one of the flagships of the universe. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
So his storyline seems wild. That Storm is on date Killmonger,
Mm-hmm.
and I assume there's another Storm on the X-Men that's not Storm. So
Yeah, it's a little. I'm not sure how they're gonna tie it together, but yeah, because it's like a different iteration. Um, but we shall see how they kind of explain it because they just introduced in the Ultimate Universe, so it's like, okay, what's going on here?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All I know is Reed Richards, he did something to make sure like they didn't get the powers or something changed. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all I know. When he was the maker.
Yep.
So, and I like him from was it King and Black? I think he's from King and Black, where the maker came from. I'm not sure.
Yes.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't King in Black because I believe at that same time that's when Venom was fighting against what's his name? That vampire dude. I knew his name, but it just came out of my mind. But at that time,
Void. No. I don't know. I want to say Kane, but that sounds completely wrong.
no, it's not Kane. But he was fighting that particular character, and of course, in that crossover, Venom took over as the King in Black. But at the same time, that's where Reed Richards was their president because he has something to do with the symbiotes in order for him to fulfill his mission.
No, bro.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are you a music lover?
Not really.
Not
Not
really.
really.
If you had to pick an artist, that you said, had you like a certain type of song or music, what artist brought you to that world?
I would say either Dave Hollister or Kelly Price.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's dope. That's dope. All right. So with you having two sides of the family and whatnot growing up,
Mm-hmm.
when you realized you was part of the nerd side of the family?
So I realized, so back when I was in elementary school, my mom would um drop me off at my uncle's house a couple times because he was closer to the school, and so
Hmm.
I would spend like a couple years over there at the house at the time until I think when I got to high school is when I was able to drive over there to the school. So during those years is when my uncle introduced me to doing watching the shows and doing the comic books. And as I was reading the comic books, I think my mom was looking at me like, "Oh wow, you're reading so and so, so so." Yeah, yeah. And ever since then, she started buying these. Back then they had these the coloring books for like I think it was like Batman and for like Superman, um, the animated series. And so she started seeing that, because at that time that's when I started drawing. And ever since watching the Spider-Man shows, I would start kind of like trying to draw how the shows look like. So draw Spider-Man, draw Batman, and then she would start buying me those coloring books so that, and then they had the tutorials where they can how to draw like each of the characters from the shows, showing you the different concepts. So from there, it was a weird turn of events because I was so immense into the comic books, and my mom was like, "Wow, my son is into this nerd stuff. I might as well support him along the way." And but it's funny because I didn't realize my mom was also on the nerdy side, because she's into the wrestling side. Um,
Oh,
but
okay.
I didn't know that till like around like high school because I was so into my own bubble and watching anything. And then one day I come to find out she's into WWE and all the different wrestlers. I said, "Oh my god, how come you didn't tell me beforehand?" It's just like because you never asked.
You didn't catch it watching Monday Night Raw, man.
No, I
And
was I
nothing.
was so busy in my room just drawing here and there that I never really bumped into him like, "Oh, what you doing?" So that was after the fact. But yeah, so I didn't realize she was part of the nerdy club as well. I thought it was just me and my uncles, but my mom is into it too as well.
Okay, okay, that's
Yeah.
that's dope. That's dope. All right, we'll move to my next segment. This is called the hotkeys, which is a double meaning term. In comic books, you mean key issues, that are going to be popular later on because a new writer, a new artist come on board, a new character get introduced, or nowadays, a storyline happens that becomes a TV show, a movie nowadays.
Mhm.
As well in music, it's buttons on a turntable or the laptop that a DJ or a producer will press to turn the event up and get it live. So this segment is to get this episode live. Highlight key things in this show that people know about you and specifically what you do and who you are, and questions that I formulated while we're talking and I wrote down beforehand. So with that being said, I read your bio from your Kickstarter. So you went full sale.
Mhm.
Uh, you said so. If I read correctly, you was valedictorian.
Victorian, yeah.
So I thought about going full sale. So, but how does valedictorian work at full sale?
So
Because it's focused just on one thing. So how does that work with that?
they have different studies. So of course, in the school you have there's different studies like animation, game design, um, they study in esports and so forth. So at my study, I was doing computer animation, and I was one of the top students because at that time they were teaching students all the fundamentals for animation and learning the different technologies like different software and so forth. And I was one of the few students that was like really into what I was doing, and I didn't realize I was into animation until like high school. And I think I was confronted with my family about I think I need to go to an art school because like I said, I was born into watching cartoons and so forth, and I was always that person that'll be like behind the scenes and like how like in back then like when the Raimi Spider-Man movies they had the second disc and they show you like the clips behind the scenes and everything. I'll be that one person
Yeah.
that just watched it from top to bottom because I'm like, oh my god, look at the production, look how they did this and that. And so with high school, that's how I was. I was so into the stuff, and I got good grades here and there, and I think the month beforehand, that's when they informed me that you got the best, you got top of the line, you got the top one of the best GPAs in the school, and that's when he put me as valedictorian because of the fact that I was got good grades, I was excelling in all the courses, and then I kind of did a little over top of my portfolio. So yeah, that's when the game of valedictorian. I didn't know. I was just trying to do just do my schoolwork and everything, but at the same time I was working on other stuff and learning more about the industry and how how professionals do it in the world, how movies are made, how games are made, and it kind of paid off throughout my school life. So that's how I became Victorian.
All right. So when you actually start drawing, just like know that okay, you said you had the coloring books when you was younger,
Mm-hmm.
but when you actually start drawing your characters or your stuff.
So I started building my characters around probably fourth or fifth grade. Because at that time, I actually have this book with me. The school had a thing where each student would have their own graphic novel, and they told us to just do whatever character you want, whatever story you want. And so I decided, hey, I love superheroes, and I always want to see a superhero, with one of the elements. At that time, I was so into the elements like water, earth, fire, and air. And so I was like, let me just do a water-based superhero. And this is what I made in fifth grade. And then from there, funny enough, people were actually into the book. Now, of course, this is kind of uh, a, a rough script. I kind of cringe at it because, like, when you read the story, it's a lot more like every other origin story from superheroes. They got in an accident and then they go to tests and trials. They beat a bad guy that's similar to him but different. So the origins is kind of you can tell it's not nothing original different, but people love the concept. They love the ideas, and they have me read in different classrooms. And so it was like fourth or fifth grade, and then like in middle school, my friends gave me the idea, well, why don't you just make a comic book out of it? And I was like, that'd be dope. Just because again, I was into comic books and I started drawing, and so throughout middle school, I would have a couple of friends of mine who would help me out on writing the storyline, and try to make something different out of it. And it was a little chaotic because like a few of my friends were not the greatest writers, and there was like one or two of my friends who were doing the drawing. They were adding their characters to my story, and eventually it was a good collaboration. But the storyline didn't make no sense. So, but it was just a fun thing that me. It was a fun thing me and my friends were doing. Like, hey guys, we made a comic book. Look, check this out. And then in high school, or I think like around junior and senior year, that's when I got serious about it because I kind of put this character on the back burner, and I was like, I don't know what to do at this point because I can't really think of a good way to, tell my story and try to make something out of it that people will love. And I think around that time, that's when there was a show that's come out. Oh, I was watching. There was a couple shows I was watching. I was watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was watching Girl Lagann, Bleach, um, and I think what was that boxing anime? Um, like it was like a couple shows in there, and I think that's when I kind of got introduced to the manga world or the anime world as well. Um, and I wasn't into anime in the beginning, but it was like later down the line because at that time my brother was into anime and he kind of got me introduced to most of the popular ones like Naruto and Dragon Ball. And so when I saw that, I said, "Oh my god, I would like to see that, with my character." And so from there in college was when I started doing a rough draft of my characters, and that's when I got word to Atlas, and I was trying to think of something unique, something original, something different, other than that we already seen in the books. And that's when I got serious, and then from there, people started seeing my work being paid off, and at college, people asked me to do like commissions for them, and I said, "Oh, dope, that'd be cool." And I think at that time I got hired by another company that wanted me to do graphic design. That's when I got introduced to graphic design before I got into animation. Because beforehand, I was just working on like flyers and brochures, business cards, and from there they saw that I was an artist, and they said, "Hey, won't you work on our IP? Where we're working on this cybersecurity company that's and they have like a superhero type of character. I said, "Oh, I like that because I like superheroes," and then they like my style, so I said, "Okay, let's do that." And so I've been with them for like 2 years, and then from there, that's when it started. I started networking with other people, and it started growing. So I started learning about their industry. I started getting into different Comic Cons and meeting other people. Like I met like the folks over at Black Sands. I met the people. I met Greg Burham, Marcus Williams, and there's so many other people gleaned from, and I saw that they were also comic creators, and I said, oh snap! So they've done a comic book. I could do one myself. And that kind of gave me the motivation during my college years to start working on this book that I work on, which is Atlas. And, that's kind of like my my introduction to the comic book industry because I started from graphic design, animation, and then started doing comic books.
Cool, cool. I don't know. You familiar with not Marcus, Anthony Piper?
Yep.
I don't know you're familiar with him or not,
Mm-hmm.
but just your art style reminds me of him, and he kind of like the same type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was in animation, and his style has a lot of animation looks to it, and your style does too. And so I see where it happens at now because he said the same thing. He was doing animation just and third, and he just started drawing, and his work just looked like animation. So that's why it popped like that. So your 6 years in comic books, that happened after you graduated, right?
Right.
All right. So in your book, I think I have Atlas. I'm not sure. Like I remember seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if I have it in my collection or not. But I'm aware of it. But when did you decide to write as well as draw?
I think I started writing. It was halfway through college because in college that's when they introduced us to a couple of like they were telling us about the film industry, and one of the courses I took was storytelling, and they were showing us how the the executives and the producers, how when they pitch a story, and then how they starting getting the writers to kind of build upon their story. So as I was learning about how the filming industry works, that's when I came to myself thinking, okay, I can maybe write a story if I so a lot of my knowledge comes from the filmmaking and from the game industry. So I was thinking maybe I can implement that with my comic books because I like the way how with some movies, a lot of movies we like, we love the story, we love how how characters are conveyed, how the pacing goes and how the storytelling goes. So um, that's when I kind of gleaned to myself, maybe I should be a writer. Because I already know how to draw, I know how to do my characters, but maybe I need to learn more about some writing so that I know how to kind of build upon my character. Because I think that was my one of my weaknesses when I was working on my comics with my friends in high school is that I don't know how to write. I just know, oh, that's a dope character. Let's have him do something. Like I wasn't sure where to go from there. I don't know what was his motivation or what was his personality. I just knew how to draw cool characters, and so during college is when they teach me and I started writing. I said, okay, so of course you gotta learn the fundamentals, the acts, the three acts, and the hero's journey, and then what are the character motivations? Why should we care about this person? So like I had the whole uh blueprint of how to make the story, and so from there, and I was also learning to different cultures and different architects and so forth, and so that kind of helped me, with my writing vision because I was trying to find a way to world build put my characters in a world. And so when I created Arbonne in Atlas, so there's two places, Arbonne and Stone Hollow, and I gleaned that from the current events today, where we have a lot of people who are separated from their families, people who are immigrants, and people who are struggling to make ends meet. That's where I kind of been my world upon with Arbonne. And then at the same time, as I said before, I was into the elements. So the classical elements, earth, fire, wind, and air. I was like, I should do something about that. Like maybe the world is built based upon those four elements. Like what if the first four men or women of the earth were elemental gods? Like what if they were the ones that kind of jumpstart this universe? And then from there they create a race of these elemental beings. And so through that, that the light, it's like a light bulb, the bulb just like popped on my, like, oh, that's a dope idea. And so from there, I started writing. I had my notebook. I started, writing notes here and there, trying to get my outline, trying to get my story writing to where it was concrete. And I think at that time, one of my friends, one of my editors, came and pitched in, and he kind of filled the puzzle pieces to where I needed to, complete the story. But for ever since then, ever since learning from the filming world, that's when I started honing my skills as a writer and as a, both a writer and an artist. And that's where I got into where writing my comic books, so that, I learned how to, build that world and build that arc and so forth. So that way, when I finish Atlas, you have a whole arc of the story. So it all started from filmmaking.
Okay, okay. So that's dope because I'm realizing a lot of creators screenwriting.
Hmm.
They dive into screenwriting for the writing.
Yep.
I haven't done that myself, but the way I do it, I do mine as a film treatment. It more like how I plan my panels for the artist to
Hmm.
draw, because I used to record music videos, so I do it the same way. I'll be like, yeah, I want this in the background, but we focus on this, and I want the camera be at this angle. Da, da. I mean, that's how I picture it. But I just talking to y'all through all these episodes I do on my show.
Hmm.
Think I might need to grab me a screen treatment for dummies book or whatever, or a couple YouTube videos
Yeah.
to hone in that skill, because it might make me a better writer, because it seemed like that's the thing. On top of that, if I do masters screenwriting, I can go into make my IP animation or a movie,
Hmm.
and pitch it for to get option out for some big bucks.
Yeah. And I also think too, because as you see, like the current like comic books today, I think what really fails on their end on that spectrum is, of course, the story writing. Because you know like the art is cool, like, when you got a good artist that knows how to draw and do the panel work, it's amazing. But when the stories start falls flat, that's when people are like kind of they lose interest. They're like, I like the art, but the story is kind of flimsy. So, and one thing and I think I had somebody ask me before about, how do you start, with your comics, with your writing, and I always tell them, you want to start your research, go into script writing, go into storytelling, because that's what's kind of like the screenwriting is like the foundation of your whatever your medium is, film or animation, because that's what's gonna grind the people to go, okay, I'm invested in this, because the art can go so far, but if you don't have a concrete story, then after maybe like one book or two, people will lose interest. Like, I don't really care about these characters. I don't know what's going on, so I'm gonna have to peace out. So,
um, Animation wise, what have you done animation wise? I mean, I think I'm familiar with you putting clips or something on Instagram,
mhm.
but I didn't know you ever made anything full length or not.
So, back in college, I had two colleges. The first college was studying 2D animation, and then Full Sail was working on 3D animation. So after Full Sail, I used to work for Black Sands, and back at that time they were working on a pilot episode. And the producer was he caught. I guess he saw my work beforehand, because I used to post stuff on Instagram and so forth, but I was also into ArtStation. That was like an art. It's kind of like DeviantArt, but for professionals. So I was posting stuff there, and then that's when one of
So are you saying DVD not professionals?
I mean, take it or leave it. Like I used to be in DeviantArt one time, but a lot of the
Not you professional.
but a lot of professionals, they were like, go check out ArtStation. I'm like, okay. So that's what I did. So and then that's when I saw the producer for Black Sense. He was in ArtStation, and that's when he saw my work, and he said, hey, would you like to work on our animation? I said, sure. So I've been with them for at least 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. Because as I said before, the pilot episode, they had me working on some test footage and so forth, and doing promos for their book. And then that's when they started adding me into the working on the pilot episode. at that time. And then of course, things have changed after 2 years because they're working on a different animation studio. But a lot of my knowledge and inspiration came from that group. And so while they were put that production on pause, that was when I started working on other animation related stuff. So that was Black Sands, and then I worked on another studio that was working on it was a comic book company, but they were doing trailers and they want me to work on like some motion graphics. So I had some work from them, and then while that was on the side, that's when I kind of moved my I didn't really quit animation because I started doing 2D animation because I saw that people were 3D was good and all, but 2D everyone was really into because that's where a lot of the animations are leaning to 2D, especially anime. Anime and 2D is just phenomenal, and so that's when I kind of went back into doing 2D animation, and I started focusing on. I think I was working on a third story. It was the Cloud Assassin, and I did like a little team meet there. That was kind of like just a test footage because I was kind of a little rusty on the 2D work because I was so into the 3D animation software and so forth that I was kind of like, oh, let me see if I could come back to my 2D skills. And so thankfully it took longer than usual, but that was my my coming back to the world. So but yeah, I've been working alongside with the films and with advertising, and then of course with my personal projects.
Cool. Speaking of personal projects, right now you doing a campaign for a book called Waffle Boy.
Yes.
Uh, um, just watching you over the years, I think it's the first time you involved your brother.
Yes. So my brother is the writer for the series. And I believe we started this. This is before COVID, so I think around 2018 is when um, he wanted to create. So at first, the first idea was making a web comic, and we was doing a couple strips here and there. And at that time, we had our first Comic Con in my local area. I believe it was in Fairfax, and we got attention from people because they saw me and my brother working together. They'd never seen, brothers working together on a comic book. They're like, hey, that's dope. What y'all working on? And that's when we told about Waffle Boy. And I think after COVID hit is when it kind of shut down production because we was our long goal was to make it a big comic book, but we were starting with the webcomics trying to introduce the people and introduce the audience. But then after COVID happened, that's when it kind of shut down everything. But then last year, my brother finally got back on board and said, "Hey, let's get right back to it because we missed the thing and people are still gleaning for it." So with Waffle Boy, he this is his creation because he had this idea when he was a kid, when he was a boy, and I always tell this story with all my friends. It's hilarious. So when he back then when we was kids and overnight we was sleeping and there was like at midnight I think it was like 3 in the morning my brother would just get up from his bed. He would have he would have his blanket and tie it around his neck, and he was just start storming into people's doors saying, "I am Waffle Boy, defender of Sarah." And at that time we were like, "Boy, we're trying to sleep, get out of here." But ever since then, he honed in an idea with Waffle because my brother loves waffles, and he always adamant about it. He always loves telling people waffles is better than pancakes and so forth. I'm like, "Boy, you crazy." But anyway, so ever since then, he would turn that into his creation. And I think one time I pitched it to my colleagues because at that time I was in school, and we had assignment to work on. We had a way, we was able to work on our own characters and our story, and I kind of pitched that because I was wondering where the target audience might be who would be interested. So I pitched them the idea of Waffle Boy, and people said, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" Like some say it was like a Saturday morning cartoon, others said that it was like it reminded them of like the Garfield comics and Charlie Brown.
No man.
So
Oh, okay.
that's where I've kind of test the audience. I was like, okay, this is target audience, so this is what we need to go for. And so ever since then, we was able to get the first issue together. And so with the first book, it's just introduction of Waffle Boy, but this is like, again, it's the same flavor as the original webcomics, a lot of laughs, a lot of jokes. And then this time around, what we did differently with this comic book is that we started implementing his family, because in the webcomic it was just him and his friend Andre. But in this story, we're going to talk more about his family, and then a lot of the dynamic, and of course, the family is going to be kind of be like the core aspect to him becoming Waffle Boy. So, but yeah, that's how we got this long journey to Waffle Boy.
Okay. So is it a single issue or is it a graphic novel?
So right now it's a single issue. We are working on other issues along the way. So this first one is an introduction to Waffle Boy. Next issue we're going to talk about the like the tests and trials, and then eventually we'll get into the villains, because that was the greatest thing about with the series, that we get to come up with all these different breakfast villains. So of course the main guy that you'll see, he'll kind of pop up in the book, but it's French Toast. And then he's gonna have like a whole empire of these bad guys. So you think of all the breakfasts you could think of. So you got bacon, pancakes, ham, cheese, omelets, you name it, and then that's a villain. And then he's gonna be fighting
Hey,
waffles.
you gotta have some serial killers in there, man.
Yeah, yeah. We're trying to think of a serial character, but yeah. So, but yeah, that's our origin story. How it gleaned from that. So, but yeah.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope. I don't know who the artist is. A lot of these artists you follow on Instagram, fall off, vanish. But it was one guy. He took the different cereals. He actually supposed to make a game. He took
Yeah.
all the cereals and made characters to it. And he supposed to make a game. I think he ran a Kickstarter for it. But
That the serial killers.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't seen a post from that guy in a while, so I don't know
I don't
if he even.
I don't know, because I think I was one of the backers, or I was trying to follow up on the Kickstarter, because I saw that, I said, oh my god, because it's all the breakfast brands and they become these killers, but I haven't heard from them or haven't seen any of the progress, so I don't know whether if it's still in production. I have no clue, but I believe
Yeah.
that guy was. I could be wrong. Don't quote on me on this. It might be Metallica, who's the artist on that.
Okay. Yeah. And he's an artist that I followed. Then there was another guy. He used to take. He should be popping back out right now, but he used to take uh comic book characters and put them in UFC rings. You remember that guy?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see his stuff no more either.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
But
I mean, it could be a couple things, but yeah, I followed that dude as well, and who knows, it could be personal stuff, but yeah, there's also another guy that did I'm not sure if you heard of the Lock series, um or it's called his what's his name, Mr. Dramatic. He used to do Sonic comic book. The he did the covers for Sonic the Hedgehog series. Uh, and
okay.
he's been working on his so he has two stories. He's working on Lock and he's working on Keyboard Warriors. And I believe he's working on the fourth issue. But of course I haven't seen him in a while because life goes on and so forth.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
but I think he said that he might be uh rebooting the Lock series. I'm not sure, but yeah,
Okay.
he's a really good dude.
All right. With Waffle Boy, how far do y'all plan to go with it?
So we are planning to go maybe not sure, maybe 14 chapters or 15. We'll see how long it goes because we're making like a continuous story where kind of like how with the Spider-Man combos where you always have like just all these different villains and it just pops in here
Villain
and
of the
there,
week.
and then eventually they team up like the Sinister Six. But at least with French Toast, it's gonna be a little different because with French Toast, when he creates these bad guys, they're all henchmen. So like we'll see like him going versus each of the bad guys in several issues. But that's kind of the goal where it's gonna be ongoing. So we're probably thinking like 4 volumes, 5 volumes. We'll see.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope. And in your comic book world, is everything you do canon to each other, or is it different, separate universes?
So, like Waffle Boy and Atlas being in the same universe.
Yeah.
No, they're in parallel universes.
Okay.
With Atlas, it's their own separate universe, and then Waffle Boy being separate. Um, but within the brand, we call it the TJ verse. Um, we are planning on maybe doing a crossover, which we shall see. Um, with those two properties, because I believe we have three other universes that we're working on. But yeah, they're separate.
How many different IPs do you have?
So right now we have three that's already announced. So Atlas, Waffle Boy, and then recently we got the Cloud Assassin. So we're still working on her story, and I think we said we'd probably try to start production next year. But right now we have three that's already announced, and I can't say about the other ones, but so far, so just those three.
With you being the artist in your projects, how is the strain on it for you to push these projects out? Because you're an artist and I guess writer as well. So how does that work
Oh
out?
my God, it's difficult. So
Mm.
I would say for me, someone who's when you're an independent creator, of course, a lot of responsibilities go to you, the creator. So you have to learn. So as being a creator, you're more than just an artist. You're more than just a writer, whatever. You got to learn how to do the business. You got to learn how to market to people. Networking is a big thing. Going to cons is another thing. So for me, at times it's a strain because unless you don't have a group of people to help you out, you're kind of like alone. And unlike how the big publishers like Concrete or Godhood, or even like the big ones like Marvel and DC, they have a team of people that are, that are doing different things. So one person might be, working on the books, another person might be doing the marketing, someone's doing social media, someone is going out with retails. Versus me, I'm kind of like a one man band. And so um, you gotta hone in a lot of skills that you thought you never needed. So, like I said, being an entrepreneur, learning to networking with people, attending cons. So it's a big responsibility. And with that, you gotta learn how to manage your time and space. So with me, I always carry like a planner to kind of plan my schedules. And even so with printing, as well. Thank God I got a printer that I can go and print stuff. Because if I were printing books myself, it'd be a disaster. But along with that, so and I think the key thing, and I think a lot of times people that I've networked with who are starting out as a beginner, those who are starting out, they don't have this information. They don't know where to start because there's no blueprint. They're just like, I want to make combos, but they don't understand how to work as a business. They don't know how to operate, these bunches. So I feel like with a lot of creators, it's kind of like with them, like they have to learn from experience because there's not a lot of knowledge. I mean, right now there's a good amount of people. Like I recently heard that Godhood is really into mentoring other people and showing the ropes because he's a big creator himself. He started from like all of us. Like we started from the low, and then with his big production with Antagonists and other IPs he's working on, he's able to turn into an TV adaptation of one of his books. So he started off big, but he's also teaching the folks that are there. So um I would say there's definitely a good library of creators to lean from, in terms of building your business. But that is a huge thing with creators, that we have to learn how to operate not just as a creator, not just as an artist, but also as an entrepreneur, because you got to learn how to sell your books and you got to learn how to network with them. Like there's more to it than just creating books. So for me, it took me a while because I would say when I first started comic books, it was like 7 years before I started launching Atlas, because like again I was just working on the books. I was just focusing on the comic books, but I had no idea how to market these people. I didn't know who to reach to. I didn't know how to print books. Like I had no idea. I had to kind of taught myself how to do it. But then around again, I think around like COVID time is when most of the, so it's funny because around COVID Marvel and DC, a lot of their books weren't being printed, and they had to put a pause on production. But that didn't stop the creators, mostly the black creators, because at that time, Concrete was going up, Godhood was going up, Wise Anchor, there was Advent Comics. Like a lot of the independent publishers were pushing their books because Marvel and DC, weren't getting their books done. So that's where they kind of got the advantage, because of what happened after COVID. And so ever since then, during my 7 year kind of, journey, that's when I gleaned from those creators because they were the ones that stepped first and they got their, characters done. And so from there, that's when I kind of taught. I asked questions from them, gleaned from them how they started off and how they were able to get to this far. And then from there, I started teaching myself as a creator how to do so. But again, um, for a lot of the beginners, this is a perfect time to hone in those skills and become an entrepreneur, especially when you're in the business world. Because if you're trying to market just your books, then you got to learn all these skills. Now, unless you got like a third, uh, like a publisher, like if someone were to get your books, like Image or I don't know if Concrete is doing submissions and so forth. But if you're just putting yourself out there, if you're making your own publishing business, this is things you got to glean from. So you got to learn from the ropes how to operate as a business.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. Great information.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I want to move to my next segment, my last segment, which is called Digging the Crates. It's not a double meaning term, in comics, you dig in crates, find out that old X-Men stuff, Teen Titan stuff, and as well as music, you gonna comb through, get the old CDs and vinyls and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna comb through this episode to find like 2 questions, to ask you, so people are gonna leave here with something. So my first question is, well, first, is your mom still around?
She is.
So, you ever thought about doing a wrestling book for her?
I am thinking about it.
Okay.
Yes, I am thinking about it. So, but yeah.
All right. So, animation wise, if you would do it, take one of your IPs and do animation. Which project would you pick and what company would you pitch it to?
I would pitch it to um who was the anime studio that did oh, Lord, the ones that did the Cyberpunk's Edge Runner series. I would
Okay.
pitch it to them
I
because they also did Castlevania.
yeah, I love Castlevania.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would pitch it to them because I love their work and their their style and everything. So I would give them the rights to go ahead and just whatever IP I give them, just go at it.
Yeah. One that don't get much love is DreamWorks because they're Voltron. People don't talk about that
Oh
movie
my god,
a
I
lot.
forgot about Voltron. That's I love that show. Yeah, they
Yeah.
did a good job.
Um, if you can go back in time, a time machine, and and do drawing and animation in a different era of I guess comics or animation,
Hmm.
how far back would you go, or would you say in this era?
I would say maybe like late 80s, early 90s, because at that time that's when Image was created. And so
Hmm.
like Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, I can't I'm trying to think of all the names, but those people that started independent, I'd probably work around that area because that was something different because like I said before, you had the big two, you had Marvel and DC, and then with Todd McFarlane, and what they did was that they wanted to create their characters that they own. And so that's when they launched their project. So I would see myself in that era. Because at that time that was like kind of like the peak for most comic book um comic book readers. Because I feel like the comic readers today aren't really the same as it was beforehand. Like you
Hmm.
have a lot more people are into the movies and so forth than they are into comic books. But back in the 80s and 90s, is all you had was comic books. You might have like a crap show here and there. You might have like some of the cartoons, but back then there were some crazy comic book fan. So I would go down that era.
Okay, that's dope. And people should be watching this, listen to it within a week. So give them a one last pitch for Waffle Boy, so they can back you on
All
Kickstarter.
right, so Waffle Boy. So if you guys didn't know, Waffle Boy is simply just 13-year-old genius who goes to college. He's super smart, super intelligent, but he turned himself into a waffle. And now he's going through the tests and trials of how to balance this life now that he's turned himself to a superhero. While in the meantime, he's got to fight against breakfast villains with his main arch nemesis, French Toast. And it's a show full of laughs and comedy and something to glean from, something full of love, full of hearts, full of laughs. And it's an all age book. So anybody, that loves Saturday morning cartoons, or they love, some of the retro combos, you guys are gonna love Waffle Boy. So, and it's something me and my brother have been working on for a very long time. So that's the adventures of Waffle Boy.
Cool. And where can people follow you at if they want to? If they listen to this after the Kickstarter is over and they want to get some of your other projects and whatnot, where can they follow you or visit your website?
So you guys can follow me on social media. So I am at Art of TDJ. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and I believe we're also on LinkedIn. But you guys can follow me there, and then also our website, tdjcomics.com, where you can find all our books, all our merch, and everything. That's where all our information will be stead. So in case the Kickstarter ends, you'll still be able to go ahead and buy those books through our website.
All right, that's dope, man. Once again, thanks for coming on, man. I enjoyed it. You gave some folks some good information, so hope they learned something.